Uncharted 3 is probably the weakest game in the franchise. I remember finishing Uncharted 2 as a kid and being so excited for the third game. Reviews were all 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, oh my god. And when I finally got to playing it, I was still like, oh my god. But after finishing it, I was like,
Hey.
huh? After Uncharted 2, the bar for narrative adventure games had risen to infinity. Rocksteady was like, I need to put out Arkham City. Rockstar was like, I need to put out Red Dead Redemption. I need to put out Dead Space 2. I need to put out Gears of War 3. I need to put out Infamous 2. And in the midst of all that, Naughty Dog was like, I actually need to put out The Last of Us. Woo! One thing I learned about the development of Uncharted 3 was that the group that worked on Uncharted 2 was split into two teams. Drake's Deception team and The Last of Us team. And that really helped me understand why Uncharted 3 felt iffy. But before I go any further, I need you to understand that me calling Uncharted 3 the weakest in the franchise is like me calling Super Mario Sunshine the weakest 3D Mario game. In both cases, they're still better than 99% of games out there, so shut up! Uncharted 3 actually starts off incredibly strong. Instead of hanging off a train in suspense, we get Nate and Sully suited up looking like the cast of Ocean's 11. They're trading the sick Parvis Magna ring to some guy called Talbot for stacks and stacks of cash, and all of a sudden Sully's like, Kid, this is Monopoly money! And then there's a whole brawl in the bar. Oh my god, is this Rush Hour?
Get him!
Chapter 1 comes in, another round. I gotta kiss the guy who comes up with these titles. You learn a few new combat techniques, counterattack options, some throws, throw counters, throw breaks, and a lot of really neat scripted environmental takedowns.
What do you think you're doing?
Then you fight a big guy in the bathroom who puts your face in a piss-stained urinal. Blech. This fight is taking place across multiple different camera angles. You feel the weight of the brand new melee combat and think, alright, this is what Uncharted 3 is gonna do now. Nate throws the cistern onto my man's face and then he plops into the toilet bowl.
You okay in there?
And then Nate's like, you just got flushed away. Nate and Sully then fight through the kitchen until they reach an alleyway where they get their own shit kicked in by some thugs and Jason Cutter Statham. An old lady called Marlo shows up, takes Nate's ring, and then Cutter shoots both of them in the chest.
You're bloody welcome, Your Majesty.
Oh my god! And then we're in the flashback chapter about Nate's childhood and his first time encountering Sully. Now at this point, I'm thinking, oh man. We're diving into a more complex story with this game. Uncharted 3's first act is incredible, and it feels like it picked up where Uncharted 2 left off. Nate and Sully have already set the tone with their electric chemistry and a flashback reminiscing the day they met. And on top of that, Charlie Cutter turns out to be a friend and Chloe Fraser makes a comeback. This group is so much fun to be around. The charisma is non-stop and the humor is refreshing. I love Charlie. He's always like, Nate, I hate tight spaces, bro. I just can't stand them. Their adventure this time centers around retrieving an artifact from Nate's flashback, where the sick Parvis Magna ring is supposed to slot into, only Marlo and Talbot are in possession of it, and this entire elaborate fake death plan was to make sure Nate could track them, until he realizes these guys aren't just petty thieves, they're basically the Illuminati. Whoa. Naughty Dog once again shines in its emphasis on visual storytelling. Francis Drake's expeditions are not simply read out, but retraced and retreaded. We start off in London, we split up and go to France, while Cutter and Chloe go to Syria, and I'm like, I wanna be with Chloe and Cutter. So we also go to Syria. We even go to Yemen and reunite with Elena. The entire time, I'm just floored by how much variety in set pieces, landmarks, puzzles these guys come up with. You fight your way out of an entire section centered around a burning building. You're chased by dozens and dozens of spiders. There's rocket launcher level skirmishes blowing up centuries of history. Talbot and Marlo are no Lazarevich, but they still prove to be extremely dangerous, disappearing and reappearing at a moment's notice, and using drugs and fear to incite hallucinations and manipulate people, like we see with Cutter to the point where he almost kills Nate.
Charlie, no.
Get back!
Don't! Charlie, you're killing Nate. Okay, you gotta listen to me. You are killing Nate. Charlie!
Sully picks up on this early on and wants to bail on this heist ASAP.
Remind me again why we're doing this.
No. If you're gearing up for one of your I'm too old for this speeches, spare me.
But Nate fails to understand why. He seems hellbent on wanting to prove something to someone.
What are you trying to prove?
I'm not trying to prove anything.
Right.
We don't know if it's himself or Marlo, or he's just addicted to the adrenaline that comes with his adventures.
I just want to make sure we're doing this for the right reasons. You got your pride all tangled up in this thing. It's making you reckless. I taught you better than that.
Even when we meet Elena in Yemen, it's clear that Nate is engaged to her, but they also seem to have separated, and it's probably because of how frequently he seems to put himself in danger.
I finally proved it. Drake lied about his route through the East Indies. 400 years ago, he came here.
Why, Nate?
That's what we're here to find out.
No, I mean, Why this obsession?
This identity crisis creates an extremely interesting narrative. Sully would do anything for Nate. Elena knows this, but Nate is too stubborn to realize the implications.
He would go to the ends of the earth for you, Nate. Just don't ask him to.
And of course he is. He's faced zombies, yetis, Shambhala guardians. He was shot at by helicopters, tanks, and Immortal Lazarevich. But what Nate doesn't seem to get is that his luck might not apply to the people he loves. Already, he thought Sully died in Uncharted 1. He almost lost Elena in Uncharted 2. And just a couple chapters ago, Cutter was lucky to come out of a near-death experience with a broken leg. So when Nate finds himself on a boat kidnapped by the pirate Ramses, he's like, yeah, this is just Tuesday. Just another Tuesday. But then Ramses threatens to torture Sully.
Your friend, Victor Sullivan? I don't want to do this. At his age, it may be too much for him.
And only then does Nate realize how meaningless all of this is in the face of losing his best friend and father figure. It's also at this point that the game takes a jarring turn in its pacing. Something similar happened in Red Dead Redemption 2. For the first 4 chapters, the plot of the game steadily builds its foundation. The pacing escalates with every heist that the gang partakes in, until eventually reaching a point where the bubble bursts and tensions flare and it's all going down. But then Arthur's and Gorma fighting a civil war. What the f? This should have been the point where Uncharted 3's story hit the climax, but Naughty Dog found themselves in what I think was a bit of a creative impasse. The storytelling takes an abrupt hit in the latter half, but the action throughout these parts is incredible. These ship sequences are insane and tap into the DNA of what made Uncharted 2 so great. Nate is traversing the shipyard, blasting his way through pirates, there's vertical hanging combat, there's RPG explosions from boat to boat, the seas get rough all of a sudden so you're fighting on unsteady ground, and then Nate finds Sully. Except it's not Sully! So the ship blows up and starts flooding, and now we're platforming on a sideways overturned ship with Crash Bandicoot chase sequences, and oh my god! We're going under! How is Nate gonna make it out of this alive? He's in the middle of nowhere! Oh hey, we're back in Yemen. Uncharted 3 felt like it wanted to try something different with its story, but hesitated on abandoning the signature, sphincter-clenching, action-packed moments that had people fall in love with the series in the first place. Nate's obsession with discovering lost cities and the promise of treasure at the risk of losing loved ones made for such a gripping premise, but one that ultimately had the depth of Talbot's personality. No! It feels like a waste, which is weird to say because Uncharted 3 is still one of the most incredible games to grace the PS3 library. All the adrenaline is still there, all the badass, comically self-aware, on the brink of death set pieces are amped up to an insanely high level, but at the expense of some bizarre pacing decisions and watering the story Naughty Dog set out to tell when the game started. Nate and Uncharted 3, ironically, both suffer from an identity crisis. And looking back, I feel like the same way Uncharted 1 was an experiment to Uncharted 2, Uncharted 3 needed to go and do a bit of soul-searching in the Rub al Khali desert, eventually leading the team to go on and create Uncharted 4, baby.
Hadouken!